Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about some simple troubleshooting that you can do as a homeowner with any troubleshooting on an air conditioning system, whether you're a technician or you're a homeowner. We're going to start with the basics and work our way down from there. The basics on any air conditioning system, we're going to start with the filter, not the thermostat, we're going to start with the filter. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the filter here. This happens to be my system. For some of you, you're going to have a filter in the air handler. It may be in the closet in your house. It may be located in your garage, in an attic space. You're either going to have a filter in your air handler or you're going to have a filter in the ceiling in a filter grill. So for us, we want to examine the filter here and make sure that it's clean. So this filter is clean. I just replaced it. But if this was a really dirty filter, it would really restrict our airflow, and what can happen is it turns this air conditioner into a big block of ice. If we can't move enough air over our evaporator coil that's inside the air handler here, that's going to turn it into a big block of ice. So this is the first place we're going to start with any troubleshooting. We want to make sure that this filter is clean and clear with no restriction on airflow. All right, so now that we've covered our filter and made sure that that was clear, no airflow restrictions, we want to make sure that we've got power to the equipment. So we're going to start at our main breaker panel. Typically here in Southwest Florida, they're located in the garage. Now for your air conditioning system, there's going to be two breakers. There's a breaker that operates the indoor unit, and there's a breaker that operates the outdoor unit. So you want to make sure that you're locating both of those breakers on your panel here and making sure that neither one of them are tripped. Now on this specific style panel, this is a square D panel, the manufacturer's square D, which is very common in Southwest Florida as well. But if a breaker is tripped, it can be really deceptive. It doesn't really look like it's tripped. I'm going to show you real quick and test one of these smaller breakers. So what I did was just tested this, and it's in a tripped position now. So you can see it really hasn't changed position much from the others that are in the on position. But if we reset it, this will be the off position, and now this is the full on position. So you can see how that might be deceptive. If you see the orange in this window here, that's also the other indicator that that breaker is tripped. Not every style breaker is like that, but this one in particular is a little bit deceptive if it is tripped. Okay. So after we've done that, in addition to the breaker panel, there's also going to be a power disconnect at the air handler inside the house. And that may be a breaker style like this. It may be a pull-out disconnect. And the same thing is going to be found on your outdoor unit. So you want to check all three places: your air handler inside, the condenser outside, the power disconnect on the outdoor unit, and the breakers in your main breaker panel. And as long as we've got all of those switched on, none of them are tripped, we can move on to our next step in the troubleshooting process. All right, so now we have gone through filter, making sure we've got good airflow. We've gone through testing power, making sure that all of our disconnects and breakers are on and in the on position, they're not tripped. At this point, we're going to be looking at our drain line. So this is the most common issue that we have in Southwest Florida, is a clogged drain line. And this can show up in a couple different ways. One of the ways that's a little deceptive, just so you're aware, our drain line backs up, and there's a few safety devices in place to keep the system from overflowing if the drain line does plug. What we're looking at today is the float switch. Every system should have one of these at least. And the float switch is designed to cut the power off to the system if it engages. So if the drain line backs up, the float switch fills up with water, interrupts low voltage power, and depending on what style of thermostat you have, you may lose power to your thermostat. You could have power to the rest of your system, but your thermostat screen will go blank. So that's why I say it's a little deceptive. Sometimes you'll have no power on your thermostat, but the rest of the system has power. And in 9 times out of 10, the culprit is our float switch and our drain line is plugged. So I'm going to show you that now. Now before we examine the float switch, we want to turn power off. So every system should have a float switch on it, and you're going to notate that we've got 2 wires sticking out at the top of it. This is what actually gets wired into the low voltage, so it cuts the system off if the float switch engages. So this whole assembly will come straight out. This is our float, so if water fills up, moves the float up and interrupts power and shuts the system off before you get water damage to sometimes your ceilings, garage, all that kind of stuff. So it solves a lot of problems, but it's one of our most common issues that we see. And this is really something that you can fix as a homeowner. So if we have a float switch that is tripped, that means we have a drain line that's plugged. So what we're going to do at this point, I'm going to show you how we would clean a drain line, clear it out in the field. Even me as a technician, we would go about it the same way as you can as a homeowner. So we're going to go ahead and start outside where the drain line terminates, and then we'll come back inside to flush it as we have the vacuum operating. All right, so we've got our system shut off and we're ready to clear out the drain line here. If you don't have one, it's worth the investment. Go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, and just buy a little shop vac. These can be used with water, with dry dirt, anything like that. But if you are using it for clearing out your drain line and it's brand new and you haven't done anything with it, one thing you want to make sure of before you suction out the drain line, usually there will be a paper filter that comes with the vacuum itself. You want to make sure you pull off any paper filter that comes with the vacuum, because if that gets hit with water, there's going to be no suction whatsoever. So make sure you remove any paper filters before you put it onto the drain line. Go ahead and plug it in. We're going to go ahead and hook it directly up to our drain line. Every single drain line that you come across at your home, usually it's located somewhere in the vicinity of the outdoor unit. It's going to look like a white 3/4 inch PVC pipe. Sometimes it might be 1 inch in diameter, but we want to make sure we're hooking our vacuum up directly to the end of the drain line. If it doesn't fit quite right, you can just use some duct tape just so you can get a good seal on it, and then turn your vacuum on. Now we'll go inside and I'll show you what to do on the inside. All right, so we've got power off. We've got our vacuum hooked up outside. It's on and running. And one thing you want to make note of, while you have the vacuum running, sucking all that slime out of the drain line, when you come back inside to flush at least a gallon of warm water down the drain line, you should be doing that while the vacuum's running. And you should hear the suction on this end, okay? If you're not hearing any suction on this end, like this, then you know you have a big clog and you may need some more reinforcements to get that clog undone. Most drain lines are going to have a clean out tee like this that you can open up to pour your water down. Me personally, if I've got the system already powered off and I've got the float switch out, I'm going to pour my water directly down the float switch so I flush out the entire drain line and don't miss out on this portion here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flush this water down now. Now, for those of you who may have two clean out tees, it's very common to see that here in a lot of the new construction homes in Southwest Florida. There may be a tee like this with a cap on it, and there may be another vent tube on the side of the air handler that just sticks straight up and there's no cap on it, okay? Whenever you have the vacuum on the line and you're flushing the system out, you want to make sure that both of those vent tubes are plugged with something, whether it's be your hand, piece of tape, something needs to be plugging both of those vent tubes in order for you to suction out the entire drain line. If you don't have both of those plugged, the air is going to take the path of least resistance and you could be missing a big portion of the drain line when you're flushing that out. All right, now that we have flushed the drain line, we vacuumed everything out while pouring some hot water down to really give it a good cleaning. We're going to go ahead and restore power at this point in time. Before we restore power to the system, we want to make sure that we reinsert the float switch before we reinstall the power, okay? So we'll put that float switch back down into place, make sure it's nice and secure. We'll turn our power back on and wait for our system to kick back on. Now when you restore power to your system, your thermostat is going to go through a 3 to 5 minute time delay. Usually you'll see an indicator on your thermostat. Maybe it says cool on, but it'll be flashing. That just means that it's in a time delay. It's a feature that's built into the thermostat as a safety measure for your compressor outside. So once it gets done with that 3 to 5 minute time delay, the system should kick in. If it doesn't, and you've gone through all of these steps and the system is still not working, unfortunately it's time to call the professionals, and Nonstop Air Conditioning would be happy to help you. Give us a call, day, night, whatever time, weekend, holiday, we'd be happy to help you.